Nancy Guthrie has been missing since January 31st, 2026. Her doorbell camera went offline at approximately 1:47 a.m. on February 1st. Blood recovered inside the home was confirmed to be hers. A masked individual was captured on surveillance approaching the property, and nearly 2 miles away, black gloves containing male DNA were discovered, a profile that did not immediately match entries in the national database. Those are the confirmed facts. Everything else remains under investigation. So, what does the evidence actually show, and what has simply filled the silence? Authorities have publicly confirmed several key details. Nancy Guthrie was last seen on January 31st, 2026. Within hours, her doorbell system stopped transmitting at 1:47 a.m. on February 1st. Investigators later confirmed that blood found at the residence belonged to her. Surveillance footage captured a masked individual moving toward the home. That figure has not been publicly identified. Roughly 2 miles from the property, a pair of black gloves was recovered. Forensic testing revealed male DNA inside the gloves. The resulting profile did not immediately match any known entries in the national database. There has been no public announcement linking that DNA to any member of Nancy's family. Federal authorities are involved. The reward for information leading to Nancy's whereabouts has increased to $100,000. At least one ransom demand, including a demand for $6 million in Bitcoin, has been confirmed as a hoax unrelated to the disappearance. Nancy Guthrie remains missing. And as the official investigation continues, something else has unfolded in parallel. Speculation. In high-profile cases, attention often shifts in predictable phases. First outward, toward unknown suspects, then inward, toward those closest to the missing person. In Nancy Guthrie's case, online discussions began focusing on her stepson, not because law enforcement publicly named him as a suspect, not because charges were filed, but because questions surfaced. Allegations surfaced that Nancy may not have been dropped off safely at home. It was claimed in online forums that the timeline could have been altered, that she may have been taken elsewhere, and that the final account of events might not be complete. There is no official confirmation supporting those claims. Verification needed. Another theory circulating online suggested something more coordinated, that Nancy's stepson could have orchestrated her disappearance with outside associates. Some posts went further, speculating about gang involvement or broader criminal networks. There is no verified evidence publicly connecting Nancy's stepson to any organized group in relation to this case. Verification needed. So why did that narrative gain traction? Tucson's proximity to the border was referenced in online commentary. Rumors about regional criminal networks were repeated. The Bitcoin ransom demand added a layer of complexity, and Nancy remains missing. For some observers, those elements were assembled into a theory of coordination rather than a single masked individual. But what does the evidence actually support? Another point that drew attention was behavior. Body language clips from interviews were slowed down, replayed, analyzed. Was he nervous? Was he distant? Was he overly composed? Behavior can become evidence in the court of public opinion, but investigators do not treat speculation as forensic proof. Then came the digital angle. It was reported that pre-incident searches for Nancy's address may have occurred, though not officially attributed. Some online users questioned whether someone close to her could have been involved. There is no confirmed public evidence tying those searches to Nancy's stepson. Verification needed. The longer forensic results remain pending, the more space speculation fills. But there is a critical distinction here. Suspicion is not the same as evidence. And that brings us to what investigators have formally said. Sheriff Chris Nanos stated that Nancy's immediate family members were cleared early in the investigation based on the evidence available at that time. Cleared in an investigative context means authorities did not find evidence tying those individuals to the crime during their review. No charges have been announced. No arrest connected to the stepson has been made public. No forensic evidence has been released linking him to the disappearance. yet the masked suspect remains unidentified, and the male DNA profile has not produced a public match. That unresolved forensic gap is where the case now stands. Let's separate confirmed information from assumption. Confirmed. Nancy was last seen on January 31st, 2026. Confirmed. Her doorbell camera went offline at 1:47 a.m. on February 1st. Confirmed. Blood at the scene belonged to Nancy. Confirmed. A masked individual was captured on surveillance approaching the home. Confirmed. Black gloves containing male DNA were found approximately 2 miles away. Confirmed. The DNA did not immediately match entries in the national database. Confirmed. At least one ransom demand was a hoax unrelated to the disappearance. Confirmed. Federal authorities are involved. Confirmed. The reward now stands at $100,000. Not confirmed. Any involvement by Nancy's stepson. Not confirmed that the drop-off timeline was falsified. Not confirmed that gang involvement played any role. Not confirmed that the male DNA belongs to anyone within the family. Allegations surfaced that the ransom notes referenced specific details about Nancy's home and clothing, leading some to suggest insider knowledge. Authorities have not publicly confirmed that those details were unavailable to outsiders. Verification needed. Another allegation claimed that if pre-incident searches occurred, they may indicate coordination. There is no official statement publicly attributing those searches to Nancy's stepson. Verification needed. So where does that leave the investigation? The masked individual remains unidentified. The DNA profile remains unmatched in public records. The ransom communications remain only partially resolved. When rewards increase, it often signals investigators believe someone may still hold critical information. But who? Is the key in forensic data still being processed? Is it in digital records not yet disclosed? Or is it with someone who has not yet come forward? The absence of resolution does not confirm conspiracy, but it does sustain uncertainty, and uncertainty has a way of expanding into narrative. From a procedural standpoint, the position is clear. Nancy's stepson has not been publicly charged. He has not been officially named as a suspect. Sheriff Chris Nanos stated that immediate family members were cleared early based on available evidence. That does not prevent public speculation, but legally it matters. Clearing individuals early indicates investigators reviewed available data, interviews, timelines, physical evidence, and did not identify grounds for accusation at that stage. The central investigative focus, based on confirmed information, remains the unidentified masked individual and the unresolved male DNA profile. Until forensic matches are made or new evidence is announced, the case remains open and active. There has been no public statement disputing the established timeline of Nancy being dropped off at home. There has been no official linkage between the ransom communications and any family member. There has been no announced match to the DNA profile. Nancy Guthrie remains missing. The reward stands at $100,000. Federal authorities remain involved. And the central question persists. If the masked individual is the key, who is behind that mask? If the DNA belongs to someone unknown, when will it match? And if at least one ransom demand was a hoax, what does that say about the others? In cases like this, answers often arrive not through speculation, but through one verified development: a forensic hit, a credible tip, a documented identification. Until that moment comes, the facts remain fixed, the evidence remains incomplete, and the search for Nancy Guthrie continues.